Next we need to put the antenna back on our house. Well, that was fun. I think maybe it doesn't want to go back up there. So what I'm going to use is, this is a bracket for mounting a satellite dish that was on our house, and I'm going to make it so that I can put the end of that pole into the end of this, and then this is going to get mounted on the house, and I'll use these brackets to keep everything steady, kind of how it was before. So I want to paint this thing up, so I need to get it all tore apart. Let's get busy. You're watching On the Mark with Mark. This piece really doesn't look too bad. I'll just glance it with the Media Blaster and then we'll repaint it. We're here at the blasting cabinet, and I've got all the parts that have some rust on them inside there, so now we're going to blast that rust off and then we'll get on to the painting. It is hot out here. So I'm going to give these a quick coat of paint here. Probably do 2 coats and see how they look. Oh man, I didn't think it was windy. Man, I'm a fast painter. The parts are all painted now, so I'm going to start assembly. So that's not too much stuff. It's mainly this tube and this main bracket here. So let's get that together. I'll speed this up. Watch how fast I can do this. nice stainless steel hardware. That looks great. Now we need to, well, we need to do a couple things here. We need to make it so that this smaller tube can fit inside of this tube. We're going to do that with some spacers. And here's one of them that I've got. And if you squish this down, it fits in there. And I'm going to take a little more off of it because there's some detents on the inside of this that kind of get in the way, and I don't see how I can get rid of them. After cutting a slot in this PVC, I was able to get this to shrink down enough to fit inside of this tube, and I have driven it hard down in here so it's in as far as it can go. Now I'm going to cut it off here, and this still isn't small enough to fit the mast for this antenna. So now I've got to work on another level of spacer to add to this. I have measured the ID of this pipe now that I have my spacer in there, and it is 1.5. And I don't know how I ended up with such round numbers, but this pipe here is 1.25. So it's very easy, 1/4 of an inch overall smaller, so I need an 1/8 inch spacer. And then this piece that I cut off of here, this wall on this stuff is, it's actually 1.5. So it's a little thicker than what I need. 0.1 should have been 1.25. But I think I can still make this work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section of this out, and then I'll heat this up good with the heat gun until it's practically a leather, and then I'll be able to curl this up more, and I'll slide it down in there, and then it'll have a gap in it, and then that will allow for it to be a little bit thicker than what I really need. Now I'm just plain guessing as to how much of this to cut off. Good to me. I made a second cut on this so that it's quite a bit smaller when I get it wrapped around, so that hopefully the smaller tube can still fit inside. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to heat this up now and see if it'll go in there. As it turns out, this was way too much, but the two little cutoffs that I had are just about right. Now I'm going to cut a slot on both sides of this tube so that when I put the clamps on it, which look like this, when the clamps go on, it'll squeeze down on that mast. I pretty well got this groove cut in here, but I got a little bit more to go. There we go. Now I'm going to do a bit on the other side. This is the other side. Now I'm going to assemble these side support tubes. So we get a clamp on here. First clamp is going to go relatively low, and second clamp this is the one that's really going to put the clamp on the tube, but it will also be clamping or holding these parts on. I've got this much assembled, but I don't want to slide that in there because it'll scrape the paint off. I'll wait and see when I get up on the roof just how far out this needs to go, and I'll make that adjustment up there, and then hopefully all I got to do is push it in, and then I'll tighten this down good, and also I'll tighten this bracket, that clamp down. Now there's one more piece. This is the actual part that mounts on the roof. Okay, so this gets carriage bolts, got a square hole there, probably come in from this way. And I'm just going to get this mounted on here too, so that everything's ready to go when we get up there. I'll do the same thing with this other side here, and then I think we're ready to go up on the roof. But that's not going to happen until 5:30 in the morning, when it's as cool as possible, because it has gotten hot here. And not only could I burn myself on the shingles, but I can also damage the shingles. So I'm going to wait until the coolest part of the day, and then I'll get up there. And then here's the hardware. There'll be a couple of the smaller pieces will go into these parts that go on the roof. Looks like this. And then I'll be able to make any adjustments I need to make, and that will go right through the shingles, and then I'll take some blackjack and seal that up as best I can up there so I don't end up with a leak in the roof. And the main bracket is going to mount right on the fascia at the peak, and that'll use these big lag bolts here, because the fascia board on this house is 2-inch material, so it's 2x6 up there, so I'll get a lot of good bite on that, and I've got screws for every hole there. So that'll get us up very high, and I'll have a good mount. The rest of that mast is only about 5 feet long. I've got a 6-foot wingspan here. Yeah, it's about 5 feet long, and the antenna itself is not all that big, so it's not a huge sail. That should be enough to take care of it. Okay, I've assembled as much of this in the shop as I can. I could put the antenna on, but like I said before, I don't want to do that because it'll just make it too cumbersome to lift up there on the roof. Also, once I get it installed, I can see some places where I missed the paint and things have gotten scuffed a little bit. I'll take another can of spray paint up there and I'll shoot the thing good once it's mounted in place and isn't getting scuffed up anymore. So next is on the roof. It's 5:10 in the morning, and this is the coolest time of the day. So this is when I'm getting up on the roof. I'm just hauling stuff up there right now so that I can hang this antenna. I think that's as good as it gets. Let's put a little bit of paint on it. Well, it's up there. That wasn't fun for me. And I still need to run the coax up there and connect it. But really, the hard part is done. But I am not looking forward to going up there again. But that'll be something I don't make a video of. It was pretty high up there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.